dua for us. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa ashabi wa barik wa sallim. We're going to start immediately. I'm going to ask Sidi Yunus to open our proceedings with the dua. Tafadal.
الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا وقرة أعيننا وسيدنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين ارحمنا. اللهم افتح لنا بالخير واختم لنا بالخير. ربنا زدنا علما وارزقنا فهمه وزدنا بالصالحين. اللهم افتح لنا فتوح العارفين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. ربنا تقبل منا بسر أسرار سورة الفاتحة.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're going to start immediately with the continuation of the Sifat al-Aleem. Let me just go to the beginning. Is the share screen correct now, or is it not? Is it maximized?
Not maximized. Not maximized, Buddha.
Allahu Akbar. You know, me and technology, I hope you're going to teach all the young people how to do these things correctly, because it's not easy. It's not easy. Ya Allah, Ya Rabb. Just go Zavi. Okay, in the meantime, we're going to start.
Buddha, I think there's a square at the top of the screen, at the top. Just press on there and see if it maximizes.
Yeah. It's not maximizing. Okay. Okay, shukran.
Shukran.
Okay. Now, we've discussed the question of knowledge. Knowledge is, like we've indicated in the past, is an unending subject. It's got no end, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge and perfection is limitless. So one can never really, truly know anything about anything completely. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us the ability and the faculties to understand some things. Now, it's based on how we believe. Now, I've put in the slide to lay the basis for what will follow now. So, if we talk about our belief, it's not always necessary to have belief that is based on proof. If we use the example of the previous generations, they didn't have access to all the facilities, the knowledge, the technology that we have available. But they believed, their belief was strong. Many of them became saints, true saints. Was it because of the type of knowledge that he accumulated at the time based on proof? No, they developed an inner certainty of belief. Pure, unwavering iman and taqwa. Now, that is not something that has to do with the brain. The brain can assist, as we've indicated previously, but it has to do with the state of the heart, not the brain. So knowledge, when we talk about knowledge, we cannot limit knowledge to what we are able to logically explain and understand with the brain. And as we've indicated previously on a few occasions, that knowledge, true knowledge about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is actually one of the key purposes of why we've been created, is to get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has been deposited deep in the heart of every single human being, past, present, and future. Everyone has the potential to uncover that knowledge that is, I was going to say hidden, not hidden, but covered by several veils. We'll come to how these veils accumulate around the heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that this knowledge that is within the heart of every single human being, the spiritual heart, let me emphasize that point. Allah taught these names to mankind, to Nabi Adam and his progeny. Now, this is not something that came via the malaika, like so many other things. Allah taught directly the names. And Allah is the owner of the names, so can Allah then not be the only one who can truly explain what the significance and the deeper meaning and impact of these names are? And that is a reminder for us. That knowledge that is stored in the heart of every single human being has been put there and taught to human beings directly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the previous slides, we covered some of this. Now, true belief is when this, you must please forgive me if I clear my throat. I've got a post-nasal drip caused by the change of seasons, I suspect. So forgive me if I clear my throat without even realizing. True belief is when the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala illuminates the purified heart. Now, why we say purified heart is that the nur is there all the time. Why can one make a statement like that? Because if we say the nur is not there, unless there's a purified heart, then we are making that a condition. And no condition ever applies to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala under any circumstances. Let's remember that and apply it wherever we find ourselves or whatever topic or subject that we are discussing. So when the heart is purified, then the veils are lifted, especially the veils of light. And then that divine light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shines through on that purified heart. Or another way of saying it is that if you have sufficiently purified your heart, then your inner light will shine through all the veils of darkness, doubt, ignorance, misunderstanding, and all the things that block this nur. And it actually shines from inside out. And it is observed, noticed, and recognized by people on the outside. You're not even aware of it. Well, the one who is fortunate enough to be in the state might not even be aware of it, how much of that person's nur shines out It's because of the illumination of the purified heart. Subhanallah. Now, much of what we say will sound like repetition. And probably is, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you a deeper insight every time you come across the same information. Because that information that you've been exposed to has a meaning on top of it, on top of it, on top of it, endlessly. Subhanallah. But our key task to achieve this level, this blessed state, is to rid ourselves of the influence of shaitan, our nafs, and the material world. In fact, to fight our animalistic instincts. When we say animalistic instincts, every person, every human being has been created with two components: the animal, the instinctive animal, and the angelic side. So you're both an angel and an animal at the same time. And how you conduct your life will determine where you end up at the end of the day. So to achieve that kind of state, I think we must understand that it comes back to the same stuff, shaitan, nafs, and the dunya, that those are the things that we have to fight. When we talk about the sifat, Al-Aleem, the all-knowing, then we can say Allah knows everything. Then we turn the page and we go to the next sifat. But how does that help us? How does that strengthen our belief? How does that help us to become better Muslims, number one? And number two, how does it assist us to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We actually have to take the knowledge, taste the knowledge, and let that experience of tasting the knowledge influence the way you do your daily chores. Yes, the obvious statement, Allah's knowledge covers everything in creation, but not only everything in creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who knows everything about his holy divine self. Subhanallah. That we must, no one else knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like he knows himself. We said when we are born, we know nothing. We're not talking about that spiritual gift and blessing that we were given before we even came into the world. When we enter the world, the material world, and we are born into it, we have no knowledge. We acquire the knowledge, and we went through that, the different ways of how we can acquire knowledge. Now, Allah does not acquire knowledge. Please remember this point is it's a crucial point that can be applied in other cases as well. Allah does not acquire anything. Allah is absolutely perfect, and perfection means nothing can be added or subtracted to what is already perfect. So unlike human beings, knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always been there. Because if it was not always there, and Allah had to acquire the knowledge or wait for something to happen, then it means that that knowledge was not known yet, and that would then mean that Allah is not all-knowing. We kind of know this point that I'm going to make now, that no knowledge is hidden or unknown to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We sort of accept that at the face level. But there's a level beyond that, when we have to unpack about what is hidden and what is unknown. This is such a profound point to ponder on that can make a significant difference to our belief system. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge encompasses every possible thing which can happen in creation. Every single thing. Allah's all-knowing ability covers that and was there before the world and the universe and creation came into existence. Now, to illustrate this point, Allah does not only know. Allah is the one who created that knowledge, who created the possibility for us to know also. So every possibility, whether it can or cannot happen, exists within the all-knowing knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I didn't think this through. I'm going to use this example anyway. If you talk about an illness, a disease or an illness, and people say there is no cure for that, we must remember Allah is the creator of the illness. So as the creator, Allah is also the creator of the cure of that illness. But it is just possible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might have, in his all-knowing wisdom, decided not to make that available, that cure available to human beings at all, ever, for eternity, or make it available for it to be known at a certain point later on. There's enough history to illustrate that. Cures that were found much later, people thought there was no cure for. Now, the other point that we must understand that is extremely profound, it's a very subtle point. If I state read the sentence the way I've written it, it's utterly impossible for anything to be discovered or designed in the world which is new or original. That sounds fine. But how do we take that knowledge and apply it to our everyday lives? Whatever your problem might be, your task or activity that you are busy with, remember that you cannot create anything or come up with a solution that is not already known by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything, whether you are mixing colors or you take sand and you throw it down, and the position that it takes, that is already known. That's a possibility that Allah has created. If it is not a possibility, then you won't be able to get it. I wanted to explain this with some more examples, but if you are busy with anything and you call on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through this name Al-Aleem, then remember that Allah is the one who knows what the solution is to that something that you are busy with. Allah knows that, for sure, definitely. So why do we break our backs and our necks and our heads to solve problems on our own? Go to the one who owns the solution. Go there. Plead with Allah to help you. And don't assume because you know, you think you know, that you can do it on your own. How many times have you thought that you know? When you're actually doing it, you find out, oh my goodness, I actually don't really know. So take this point, I don't know, process it for yourself in your own life, but become more conscious of the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala al-Aleem in your everyday working life, in your behavior, your conduct, the way you engage with people, or the way you do your work. Be conscious that knowledge of the solutions to whatever problem you are confronted with belongs to Allah. And the most obscure thing that you can come up with is only possible because it already exists within Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge, number one. And number two, Allah is the creator of that possibility. Now, we're not only talking about events or incidents of what precedes it and during the event and post the event, what are the consequences, what can and what cannot impact on that. Allah, beyond that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is conscious of every thought that you have. You can't think of anything that Allah doesn't know about. No matter what thought you have, you can come up with your own ideas of this. Any thought, the most obscure thought that you can think of, Allah already knows it, what your thoughts are. And that exists before you even had the thought, before you were even born, before creation even came into existence. Subhanallah. Now, the proof of that statement, that everything exists in Allah's pre-knowledge, knowledge of everything exists in Allah's subhanahu wa ta'ala's pre-knowledge of everything. It should be quite logical that if something new could occur that Allah wasn't aware of or didn't know yet, you come up with a design or a thought or an idea of what you think, oh, this is absolutely great, it's unique, it's new. You would then, we're checking now our understanding, the proof of the statement. If Allah did not know that yet, and Allah had to wait for it to happen before Allah knows, then it would mean you can't say Allah is all-knowing. You would then say, Allah knows some things, but Allah doesn't know everything, which clearly is against the very grain of our belief system, that Allah is not in need of anything. Allah doesn't rely on things to happen first for Allah to know. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge precedes even our birth. It doesn't wait for time to elapse for us to be born, to be doing things, then Allah knows. No. Then Allah would be reliant on first all of those things happening, then Allah knows. It's the other way around. Allah first knows, then everything happens within the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what about our choices? That's a topic that we will come to, inshallah. Something that I personally thought as a younger person that I had understood it, how choice fits in with Allah's knowledge of knowing everything. Then I went through about a period of 10 years or maybe 20 years. And then I suddenly came up against another thought, and I realized, oh, I didn't realize this point. So I don't really understand. And then again, and then again, and then again. So the question of choice and what Allah has put out is an unending process. Nobody really knows everything there is to know about that. But we're going to talk about that, inshallah, some more. But here, the key thing, I think, about the sifat is that nothing new can be created in creation. Nothing new can happen. No event, no incident, no thought, no idea, no concept, no discovery can be outside of what Allah already knows in pre-eternity. Subhanallah. Now, because time is a creation, you see why we spend so much time, time on time, is because it will come up all the time. Even in our language, there's almost no substitute for the word time. Time was created, and that even there was a point in the history of the universe when time did not exist. Not only is that a fact that we are stating from a religious point of view, but it's also confirmed by the scientific community. There was a period in the universe when time did not exist. And this is a throwaway bit of information. Time and space are relative, and our world is referred to as the universe that is based on space-time. Space and time, there's a close link between space and time. And scientists have, in their own discussions and tracing the history of the universe, came to a point where there was no space. Everything collapsed, shrunk into a single point. And if there's only a single point, then where is time? Then time doesn't exist. And that's basically from a scientific point of view, that time was created. Time didn't always exist. Well, this point we made, past, present, and future plays no role when we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge. So something didn't happen for it to be known. But the key point is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows every single thing individually, but everything from the beginning of time till the end of time, all objects, all events, all life forms in creation, Allah knows everything at the same instant, simultaneously. There is no elapse from one moment to the next. Allah immediately knows everything about everything from the beginning of creation till the end, with everything that is contained in creation. Subhanallah. It's an utterly mind-boggling concept if you think of the way butterflies go through their various stages before they become butterflies, or a mosquito, or an ant, or a star. That every single aspect of that is known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one can go on and on and on and on. The shapes, the various shapes that you find in creation, and the different mutations that it can have, whether it is the foam on the sea, or the formation of the sand when you walk through it, or the grass when somebody tramps on it. Every single change is already known by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just known, but that possibility was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah. Now, everything about creation, every single thing in creation was recorded in the divine tablet, the Lawh al-Mahfuz, before anything existed. Does it cover our choices? Does the Lawh al-Mahfuz, the divine tablet that recorded the entire history of everything that's going to happen in the universe, does it also, this is now before we were born, there's no creation yet. Allah recorded the entire history because Allah has knowledge of past, present, and future. And it was recorded in the Lawh al-Mahfuz. Did it record our choices too? I'm going to open the floor on that point. I'm opening the floor and I'm putting the question. The divine tablet has all the information of everything in the entire creation, from beginning of time till the end of time. Does it cover our choices too? Considering that that knowledge was recorded long before we were even born. I'm opening the floor.
Salie?
Assalamu alaikum. But I think yes, everything, the knowledge of Allah doesn't have a limitation on time. So whatever possible choices will be covered in there, because that is a written form of the knowledge.
Okay, Sidi Yunus.
Yes. So I think that opening statement answers it already. We're saying that everything that happens, or had happened, is happening, and will happen, is recorded. In certain, our actions will be, our choices will be included in there. It is only in the realm of time that our choices come into play. But when we consider the Lawh al-Mahfuz, it's already recorded there. We are only experiencing the unfolding of our choices here now, but it's been recorded there already because it's a record of the history of the entire creation.
So does it mean that whatever we do, we're going to have to do what is recorded?
So again, it's relative. Our perspective is relative to time. So our existence in this world is linked to time. And within this realm of time, we expressing our choices. That's the only power and ability that Allah has granted us. When we consider the Lawh al-Mahfuz, there is no time because if the past, present, and future is already there. So it's a balance between how we conduct ourselves and what has been recorded. We can't see into the future, but the Lawh al-Mahfuz has that knowledge already because Allah instructed it. Because that knowledge lies with Allah.
And the choice, what about the choice? If it's recorded, it's unchangeable. Whatever is recorded in the Lawh al-Mahfuz cannot be changed. So it's already written. So where does it not then mean that no matter what, we're going to eventually have to do what is already recorded?
There's a danger in that because then we can pass blame. And when we pass blame, there's no blame upon Allah. So our choices, how we conduct ourselves in this dunya, again, is linked to time. So how we conduct ourselves in the now, that is where our choices come into play. And Allah had informed us already about the consequences of our actions. So he's giving us a warning and we need to decide how we conduct ourselves. Because
Okay.
if there's no accountability, then why is the day of judgment?
Okay.
If already everything has been decided.
Okay, we're going to come back to that. I'm not even going to respond. This topic is a topic that we're going to come back because we're talking about the knowledge now. But the point in this is that everything that's going to happen in the created world was already recorded in the Lawh al-Mahfuz before creation came into existence. Keep that point in mind, because if we refer to it later on, then you're aware of this. It's important to restate this, and we can't restate it enough. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is utterly perfect. It's limitless. There's no boundary to say, now Allah has reached that point of knowing which has covered the full ambit. It's limitless. What Allah knows is without boundaries and without limits. And Allah's knowledge can never change. Remember that. Unlike creation, we said one of the sifat is that Allah is unlike creation. Creation is subject to change. Nothing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can ever change. One can go through the proof, but we're already running a little bit late. Maybe it would be important to maybe next week cover this point. That which is unchangeable is the one thing that we as creation are subjected to constantly, all the time. Change is part of the very fabric of human behavior. And that Allah's knowledge never increases or decreases, regardless of what happens in creation. Now you can try and be clever and say, how is it possible for Allah to know that? How does Allah know that? And we have brains and we have memory. Does it mean that Allah has a memory to store this information? Where is the information kept? Is there a place where you can ask questions like that and you will run with your head straight into a brick wall? Because the how and the what of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now you're scratching what the human mind is not able to unravel or understand. That even if Allah was to give us a glimpse of the how or what Allah knows, then the brain would be incapable of comprehending that, because the brain is not, it's not a vast thing. And this is to illustrate this point. We of course know this is a map of our planet. Now I've been through this. I want, even though it's one of my favorite ways of reminding myself who and what I am, if you look at the world, the planet Earth, and you say, if you were to put a dot there where Cape Town is, that's the whole.
Salie, we're not seeing the image.
Oh, then you didn't see the previous one also. Yeah, shukran for. Let me just for the purposes of you probably didn't see the full slide there as well. I'm just putting it up for the record that the slide has been seen. Now this is a map of our planet Earth. Now, right at the tip here of the continent of Africa, if we were to put a dot there, which would cover the entire city, the dot would be bigger than the actual size of, of Cape Town itself. Now, if you look at Cape Town and you look at yourself, you're in Cape Town. If you are in Cape Town, well, even if we were to take where Sister Aisha in Paarl is, and you were to put a dot there, the dot will probably cover Paarl as well. Now you look at the distance, and you are here in relation to all of this, and we can't see Cape Town, so where are you in relation to this picture? You can fit 1 million Earths into the size of the sun. Now, obviously, you can't fit 1 million Earths into this peak here. This is only to give us an idea of what the solar system looks like. The sun is 1 million times bigger than the planet Earth. So just that alone should give you the size of how small the Earth is. Now that is the sun. Now the solar system is not only the sun, it's all the planets, the 9 planets that revolve around the sun, that orbit the sun. Together is referred to as the solar system. Now, if you take the Earth in comparison to the whole solar system, then what is the size of the person who thinks they understand or they know of the brains now? Logically, they're logical. They can work things out. They're clever. They maybe don't have the vocabulary or whatever, but I'm clever. I'm intelligent. I know. With what are you using? That size of your brain, where's your brain? You can't even see Cape Town in this pic. Cape Town is too small to be pointed towards. Now, what about you? And your brain is even smaller. And what about the Milky Way? Now, this is the Milky Way, and why I like this one especially is this gives the impression that the movement, and you know, everything in creation is in rotation. Subhanallah. This movement is anti-clockwise, and we tawaf around the Kaaba anti-clockwise. The sun orbits the sun. The Earth orbits the sun in an anti-clockwise direction. It revolves around its own axis in an anti-clockwise direction. Can you see how majestic and how orderly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is? Oh, yes, we're talking about knowledge. Let me not get too distracted. So this is the Milky Way. That's the galaxy to which our solar system belongs. Now that solar system, the pic we showed just before this, is where? One dot here, about here, somewhere here, is the entire solar system. One dot here is the entire Milky Way. The Milky Way galaxy is one dot here, and this is only part of the universe. Because the observable universe, while it was observable, the last statistic that they gave was that it's 93 billion light years in diameter. They've now discovered or developed a new type of telescope that they've put out into space, which has the ability to go way beyond where our previous instruments could go to check and measure things in outer space. So now the observable universe would be more than 93 billion light years. And light years, we all know what is a light year. It's the distance that light travels in a year. And light travels at the speed of 300,000 kilometers per second. Anyway, it becomes technical. The observable universe is 93 billion light years in diameter. And one of these dots, where I don't know where, but one of the dots somewhere here would be the galaxy called the Milky Way, of which we form part of. And now there's been speculation about the multiverse. Multi, uni means one, multi means many. Universe, one universe, multiverse, many universes. Scientists have come up with a theory that there's a very, very great likelihood that our universe is not the only universe, that there is actually a multiverse, and there's very sophisticated theories. Now, if we say each bubble, not necessarily the biggest one, but say this one here could represent our universe. And they speculate there are innumerable amounts of universes out there, which they refer to as the multiverse. Now, if you just take this and you go back, trace back now to our first slide of where we tried to locate Cape Town at the tip of the continent, and you think of what we're talking about. But that's only one part of the equation. As believers, as Muslims, we know and we've been informed that our universe is the lowest heaven, the world of time and space, the material world that we refer to as our universe is referred to as the lowest heaven. Then levels 6 to 7, we're talking heavens. But Anwar, I hope you will, because this speaks to your earlier point about heaven. Heaven, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the 7 heavens, the 7 samawat, that the heavens, number 6 to 7, is entirely different to our universe of time and space. They've got completely different laws that govern them. You know, here you throw something up in the air, the 4 fundamental forces work here at the lower heaven, but does it work at the other levels? Differently, if anything, but maybe not at all. Maybe there are different fundamental forces that operate there. So the laws which govern our lower heaven doesn't apply to what applies to heavens number 2 to 6. Then above that, we get the 7th heaven. Now, the 7th heaven has been spoken about a lot, or referred to a lot in both the Hadith and the Quran. Now, there's 2 things about the 7th heaven. The one is that is a boundary which none can go beyond. No human being, not even Malaika, can go beyond this point. This is a boundary that separates what is above from what is below. That's the seventh heaven. And it's the Sidratul Muntaha is in the seventh heaven. And this is also where we get the heavenly Kaaba, the Baytul Ma'mur, where the Malaika, for every single second of their existence, tawaf around the Kaaba in the same way that we tawaf around the Kaaba. So Allah has got millions and trillions and billions of Malaika tawafing around the Kaaba for the entire existence. You think Allah needs us to do it? If Allah's got all these Malaika, and the same Malaika who tawaf around the Kaaba for the one day, they get replaced by the next day, and they never return. It's always new ones and new ones and new ones until the end of time. Subhanallah. Oh, wait, I'm getting distracted here. So this is the seventh heaven. What am I actually doing here? Why am I showing the slide? I'm showing you, remember where we started? Cape Town? Planet Earth, and when we went to the multiverse is only part of the lower heaven. Look what follows on top of that. Then we get the kursi, what is referred to as the footstool or the chair. And then something that not many people speak about is the water or the ocean that's above the kursi. Allah's kursi was upon the water. I'm not gonna, I gave my views on this when we dealt with the Ayatul Kursi. And if you're interested, you can hear my own personal view. It's not something that's been tested or that I can corroborate with other views. And above that is the Arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Arsh is that which contains every single thing in creation. The entire creation is covered by the Arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the entire the umbrella for the entire creation, with all the seven heavens and everything else that it contains. And where is the Jannah? Jannah is just below the roof of the Jannah is just below the Arsh, just below the Arsh. Now, Subhanallah. So you look at that now, you talk about when people say, no, it doesn't make sense to me, that is not logical, explain to me. You want to use your brain when you as a person, you're not even the equivalent of a speck of dust. The one who created everything that we've just depicted now, what knowledge resides with that one? The creator of all of that. You think you'll be able to use your mind, which is not even the equivalent of dust, of dust, of dust, of dust. You can't even use terminology to say microscopically small. I don't know what's another term that one can use to describe what is smaller than microscopically small, or what English descriptive word one can use there. You want to use that mind to understand all the questions and the mysteries and the miracles and the wonders. of the created world. The one who owns that knowledge is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you truly say Allah is all-knowing, your mind can't comprehend that. Your mind is incapable, utterly, totally incapable. In fact, in terms of this picture that we presented here, there is no mind, there is no you, you're non-existent. It's like taking a pin and pressing it in the sea and pulling it out and looking for the hole that you created when you pull the pin out. It's just not there. That's who you are. And with that nothingness, you want to comprehend the creator of what we've just presented here. The only way, but you can get to know some of the knowledge of the one who created everything if you have a purified heart, where you remove all the impurities. We're going to speak more about purification of the heart, inshallah. Again, we've spoken about it a lot. Go through the YouTube channel where we spoke about the nafs and shaitan and what we must do to purify the heart. Make time in between to go and listen to that, because that is really the tool with which you can develop a purified heart. And when you have a purified heart, the brain makes way, as we said last week, because the brain can't enter that door of that kind of unseen knowledge. And you taste and experience and witness the knowledge. So when you say, Al-Aleem, Ya Allah, feel it from beyond your brain, feel it from your inner, and see if you can't taste that. So when you're confronted with a task, a worldly task, and you appeal to Al-Aleem, then know and feel and taste this, because that can create an opening for you to access, inshallah, with the will of Allah, some of that information that's available there. Well, just in conclusion, the last slide. Knowledge, as great as it is, it's a means of how we can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it carries some dangers with it. Some obvious and some very subtle dangers. Because what is one of the first things that people tend to do, not everyone, but people tend to do this. If they've got new knowledge, they want to show how much they know. Not always to share in a beneficial way, but to show how clever they are, how capable they are. I can do this, I can do that, I know this, I know that, you don't know. Do you know this? Do you know that? Why is it shared with people? So that they can see how much you know compared to how little they know. The complete opposite of why we are instructed to go and seek knowledge. Not to go and show off, because now you're showing off how clever you are. And ostentation is a big crime. Showing off, grandstanding. Because the knowledge belongs to Allah. You know, you're now claiming you know. and you're taking what belongs exclusively to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But does it mean you never know? Of course, Allah has given us this different levels of understanding. You know, when you say, do you know? You can say, do you know? You can say, I know and I don't know. There's so many things in our deen that has the answer yes and no. Do we know? Yes and no. We do know and we don't know. And Allah has given human beings the ability and the faculty of intellect and reason and logic. Those faculties were given specifically to human beings to accumulate understanding and knowledge. Like Allah gave us knowledge right at the beginning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah gave us potential knowledge of the entire universe, potentially. Because it's created. None other has so much knowledge potentially than human beings. And Allah has given human beings that ability. So do you know? Yes and no. So when you discover or understand something that others don't, and they praise you, MashaAllah, that's, you've done well, wow, you're unique, and all of this praise that they give you, then please, it's happening to all of us, and I include myself. Accept it with humility, not with boastfulness and arrogance and puffed up pride. What must you do? When people praise you, you can either say it aloud or say it softly. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We said it's not only strength and ability and power that this refers to. It also refers to your special skills and talents that Allah has given you. That everything belongs to Allah. You disown what people assign to you and you send it to where it belongs. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And when you share with other people, and we are instructed to seek knowledge, and we're instructed to share it with others. It's an obligation. I was almost going to sidetrack, but I saw the time now, we're already running late. Don't hoard knowledge if it can be shared with others, but do it in the correct manner. Don't do it for the wrong reasons. If you're unsure, then check your intention. Why am I saying this? Why am I saying? Am I saying this because the nafs wants me to get another thing on my shoulder or a badge or whatever? Or am I doing it really to share and to assist others? So always check your intentions. Even the awliya on their path, they constantly check, what's my intention of doing X, Y, or Z? So this can become one of the most difficult tests to pass, because knowledge will come our way all the time. And the horrible thing that comes with it is that we believe that we are so clever and logical. It's actually sickening at times to hear how some ignorant people will say, who are you to come and tell me? I know, don't you come and tell me. Don't ever fall in the trap and don't get engaged in fruitless arguments and debates and discussions. As long as you assign what belongs to Allah, you assign to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we can never claim that we're clever. What we can claim is that we are fortunate to have been of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where we've been given the opportunity to access information that others species and other people don't have the opportunity to access, because we've been given the method of how to actually acquire some of the knowledge. And the tool with which is not only the brain is a fantastic tool. Don't throw it away. Don't say, not the brain, not the brain. The brain starts there. By asking the questions and seeking answers and so on, it starts there. Then you move and you progress till you are able to activate your spiritual heart. So we've come to the end. I feel we've not done justice to this sifat, but we can't. This is already the third session we're having on it. So we've come to the end of the sifat. And the next sifat we will be going to is irada, will. And that is almost laying the basis for the whole discussion on qada and qadr. Don't think you know this. Nobody knows. Qada and qadr is a very, very, very difficult concept to understand. We might understand aspects of it, but it's an extremely difficult topic to fully comprehend. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. I'm opening the floor for the last round of questions and session.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. Mashallah. All the questions I wanted to ask, you have already answered. Imagine that small brain. Allah Ta'ala gave us that small, powerful brain. And Allah put out a challenge to us through the Quran to seek that knowledge, your intellect, to reason, everything. And we, with our small brain and a little bit of knowledge, have gone so far, as you discussed tonight, to know and see the Milky Lane and further and further and further than that. Allah challenged us for that. And yet we achieved some of that. Not all of it, like you said, but at least we almost there. We know about, like you said, up till the seventh heaven, what will happen, where it comes from, what it is all about, with that powerful brain that Allah Ta'ala gave us and challenged us, and not to break about it. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
That small human being that's in a dot, you can't even see it, is right out there in Cape Town, in our little earth, if I must say so, not in a universe, on the earth, that small dot. And we could find out and take a photo almost of the seventh heaven, if I must say so. They will get there. They will eventually get there, I'm telling you, with all the powerful tools that we have invented through the knowledge of Allah.
Yeah, we'll give, alhamdulillah, shukran Buddha Anwar, just to say, the seventh heaven, nobody can take pictures of that. It's actually not even subject to...
No, we won't. I'm not meaning we will share with him, but I mean very far.
Yes, no, we'll get very far to understand our material world of time and space, inshallah. The way beyond where we are now, because the knowledge that we've accumulated, it just skyrocketed in the last century or 50 years. For the last 50 years, we've been able to multiply hundreds of times what the total humanity knew from the beginning of human beings up till 50 years ago, and we've 100 times increased that kind of knowledge. But alhamdulillah, shukran for those comments. Is there any other comment or question on what we've said, even what we said last week? Last comment.
Assalamualaikum, Salie, and
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi, Muhammad Hasir.
I think for a lot of people, the challenge is understanding knowledge and the limited knowledge that we have, because there are many people who question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the basis of certain things, using the knowledge that they have. And what I think people don't realize is our knowledge is incomplete and minute in relation to Allah's vast, unending knowledge. And so when one looks at the universe and one looks at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and a person looks at qada and qadr and Allah's power, it must never be seen through the lens of the human brain. And I think that's where we get stuck. And because our brains cannot compute, we get that error 4 in our brains when we try and think about Allah's vastness. And sometimes people then begin to either doubt or they question Allah, and it's almost like they have a blockage in terms of, but why would Allah do this? And why could, not realizing that at some point you have to say, but yeah, Allah, you know more than I do. You know infinitely more than I do. And I think it needs to bring a human being to the point of being humble in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And only through that humility will Allah raise us and will we know more and more and more, even though our knowledge will never ever compare to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Alhamdulillah. Shukran for those useful comments. Any other comment or question?
Can I just say something again?
Yes.
We don't question Allah's knowledge. We acknowledge Allah's knowledge.
Yes.
You want to say so?
Yes. Okay. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah.
Final comment, question? If not, then we've come to the end of the Sifat. I hope we're starting to get a taste of knowing Allah a bit better. This path is endless. As we said, it's got a ladder that's got steps on it that's got no end. So as long as we are making progress, that we've gone beyond just saying Allah knows everything, that we can actually grapple with this sifat in a way, and we've put some meat around the issue, we can understand it a bit better. And if we make a little bit of effort, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond so much more, because Allah sees that we've put in the genuine effort in the right manner and with the right intentions. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Let me ask Sidi Yunus to conclude with a dua, and I hope inshallah we will be able to all be present so that we can continue with what I believe is a very complex sifat to understand. And probably, I'm not sure, I will get guidance from people whether we should actually go on to qada and qadr after we've done irada, the will, the divine will of Allah, how to understand the divine will and then link it to qada and qadr. So please make special effort to be part of the process when we start doing the next sifat. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I'm going to ask Sidi Yunus to conclude our proceedings with the closing dua.
Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا وقرة أعيننا وسيدنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا تقبل منا بالسر أسرار سورة الفاتحة. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد
وأصحابه وبارك وسلم.
اللهم فيها سبحانك اللهم تحيد فيها سلام
وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. Shukran jazilan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you, guide you, keep you and your family, and especially the young people, keep them safe, protected and guided. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. May Allah make it easy for you on all fronts, deen, dunya and akhirah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله
عليكم
وبركاته.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa rahmatullah.